It's a musical special of the Paul Leslie Hour featuring the one-of-a-kind singer-songwriter Dennis Robbins. We're going to start the show with some recorded music. This is Dennis Robbins, Looking for a Thing Called Love.
Ain't no instructions on paper. Guess we'll have to start from scratch. Oh, looking for this thing called love. Some say you need a rainy night. Some say you need the moon. Oh, looking for this thing called love. Darling, if we hold each other, something might touch us somewhere. Is this getting close to anything that you've dreamed? This is making me crazy, if you know what I mean. Are you feeling it now? Are we doing it right? I just can't tell you, baby, how much I like. Oh, looking for a thing called love. I think we're kinda getting the hang of it. It's better when you close your eyes. Oh, looking for a thing called love. I think we're pulling into Shangri-La. If it ain't, it's close enough. Oh, looking for a thing called love. Oh, looking for a thing called love. A thing called love. Looking for a thing called love.
The Paul Leslie Hour, helping people tell their stories. And now, your host, Paul Leslie.
Hey, it's me. Always good to have you hearing the Paul Leslie Hour. I'm glad you're here. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so by going to Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/The Paul Leslie Hour. Dennis Robbins is joining us. Dennis Robbins is a singer, songwriter, country recording artist. His background is very diverse. He was a member of the rock band The Rockets. He was also the lead singer in Billy Hill. He's co-written hit songs for Highway 101, Shenandoah. He also co-wrote Two of a Kind, Working on a Full House, which was a #1 hit for Garth Brooks. His work has been interpreted by everyone from Kenny Chesney to Tracy Lawrence. I was just listening to a couple of his songs, Looking for a Thing Called Love, which I really, really enjoyed, and My Side of Town. I've really been enjoying listening to him. It's with great pleasure we welcome singer, songwriter, guitarist, and recording artist Dennis Robbins. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, Paul. It's my pleasure. It's good to be with you.
It is an honor. So how goes it, Dennis?
It's going pretty good. Just hanging out here and right outside of Nashville is where I live now, and working on a little music, not as much as I have been used to doing it, but I'm still pretty active in it.
You said you're just outside of Nashville. Is Tennessee a nice place to live?
Yeah. It's Nashville's a pretty good town. Of course, it's really grown. I've been here since, back in the 80s, and it's really changed a lot, grown unbelievably in the last few years especially. But yeah, it's a pretty good little town to still you get that small town vibe, but of course I'm right outside of town, which is nice. I'm kind of in the hills, kind of feels like in the country. So yeah, it's nice. We enjoy it.
I put a lot of hats on you. Singer, guitar player, recording artist. What do you think of yourself as primarily when you try to identify what you do in music?
Well, I guess pretty much a writer. Of course, I've, back when I was with the Rockets, I did 4 albums with the Rockets, and we toured. We toured for 6 years with everybody from Kiss, Bob Seger, REO Speedwagon, ZZ Top, Blue Oyster Cult, just on and on. It's like one of those rock and roll tours, man, just nonstop and constant. Since I left that band, I moved to Nashville, and I got my first solo deal on MCA Records, and then actually I had recorded Two of a Kind working on Full House, but my version didn't do quite as well as Garth's version, thank God. I'm glad I didn't have a hit on that song, because he's done very well with it. And but I think maybe primarily, I did another record I did the Billy Hill thing with some friends of mine, Bob DePiro, John Scott Sherrill, and we toured a little bit, a couple of years, and of course we did that one album and had big fun doing that, and had the one hit that we had called Too Much Month at the End of the Money. And after that, I did a deal with Giant Records. James Stroud signed me to Giant and I did 2 albums on Giant, Man with a Plan and Born Ready. And really, I've had more success as a writer. So, and of course, when you're a writer, you just always you can't stop those ideas that, constantly thinking about melodies or concepts or words or whatever, So I'd say primarily as a writer.
And where did that start? Where did the songwriting start for you?
Well, I wrote, when I was 15 years old, I wrote my first couple of songs when I grew up over in the mountains of North Carolina, western part of North Carolina, and I wrote a couple of songs, and we played on the weekends and saved up enough money to go down to Charlotte to record at Arthur Smith Studios in Charlotte. And we did a single, and we sold the records at high school dances, sock hops, proms, and stuff, things like that, But that was, since I was 14 or 15 years old. So, yeah.
Would it be possible to name who taught you the most about songwriting?
Oh, man. Well, just when I was with the Rockets, I wrote a song called Desire that did pretty good. But I would say, touring with Bob Seger, of course, I'm just a huge fan of Bob Seger and his songwriting. And but since I've been in Nashville, John Scott Sherrill has just been, he's just amazing. And, I've been writing with him and Scotty Emmerich and Bob DePiro. And you pick up stuff from everybody, really,
Speaking of DePiro and Sherrill, John Scott Sherrill and Bob DePiro, they were both guests on this show. And I was just listening to that song, My Side of Town.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great song, but I'm hoping you can tell us about that songwriting team. That's a lot of talent, the three of you.
Yeah, I started with when I got my first record deal with MCA is when I got introduced to John Scott and Bob. Eddie Kilroy produced that record, and he took me over. John Scott and Bob were writing at Combine Music down on Music Row, and Kilroy told me he had a couple of guys he wanted me to meet, and I had a couple of songs that I had started, and so when we met up, we just I took those ideas in and we finished writing them, and that's where it all began. And gosh, that's with Bob, I've written with Bob and Travis Tritt. We wrote 4 or 5 songs on had that title, Cut Down the Road I Go. Travis is one of his albums, and John Scott and Bob and I we've written together for years. Gosh, all the Billy Hill stuff, and My Side of Town, that was one of them. But that song, you know what, I'm trying to think how that came together, and to be honest with you, I can't remember.
You're listening to the Paul Leslie Hour, my interview with songwriter Dennis Robbins. This is one of his own recordings, co-written by Bob DiPiero and John Scott Sherrill. This is Dennis Robbins with My Side of Town.
Down the street, the dogs begin to bark. Sirens are screaming somewhere off in the dark. I pull up to the house, I just sat in the car and listened to the pounding of my heart. I've been everywhere, I drove up and down, just looking for you, but you can't be found. I don't know what it's like where you hanging around, but it's lonely tonight on my side of town. Somewhere the lights are shining, somewhere the music plays, somebody's holding you, darling. Are you getting carried away? Well, I don't know what it's like where you're hanging around, but it's lonely tonight on my side of town. Yeah, it's lonely tonight on my side of town. Covered in diamonds and pearls, have you discovered what you wanted, girl? I know you told me it could not be found over here on my side of town. Somewhere the lights are shining, somewhere the music plays, well, I don't know what it's like where you're hanging around, but it's lonely tonight on my side. Yeah, it's lonely tonight on my side of town.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but haven't you written with the great Dave Loggins?
Oh yeah, Dave. Man, yeah. There's a brilliant, amazing, unbelievable songwriter, and what an amazing guy to be around. I can't say enough about Dave Loggins. He things just seem to roll right off his tongue, man. It just from his, I think it comes out of his mouth before he's even thought about it. It's the wildest thing you've ever seen. Just, you'd be playing a melody and he'll start singing lyrics. And John Scott and Dave and I have written quite a few things together. Michael Smotherman is another guy I love to work with. He played with Glenn Campbell for quite a long time, and wrote a bunch of his stuff. But Loggins is just amazing, man. Amazing to be with him. You need to. You spend an afternoon with Dave Loggins. You need a couple of drinks at the end of that session to calm down, because it gets pretty intense. Really, really a lot of fun.
My memory is kind of a little bit muddy here, but I think I remember on one of Willie Nelson's records seeing your name on, was it Taking on Water?
Yeah, Taking on Water. That was John Scott, Dave, and I. Yeah. Sure was.
Now, what is it like when you're a songwriter and one of the most iconic singers, not just in country music, but in any genre? There he is singing your song, Willie Nelson.
Well, I mean, it's just a thrill, just beyond belief. It's the thrill of a lifetime. It's just amazing thing. And I had a song called Finally Friday that George Jones recorded.
Oh yeah.
And I had Willie did Taking on Water, and then I was telling everybody, man, if I could just get one by Merle Haggard, but it didn't come together. So I would have thought, that would have been, I would have made the rounds, but I'll settle for George and Willie.
Amen. I have to say, that song, Finally Friday, you just absolutely captured that human emotion so well. It's just, it's such a good one.
Well, thank you for that, Paul. I appreciated it. Yeah, it was fun. It's a fun song. And then, of course, George did a party version of it too. I don't know if you've heard that. And then got Bill Clinton in the background. I think they sneaked him saying something in there, and just all these people singing and cutting up. And it's my favorite version of the two that he put out. So, but that was just unbelievable. I had the same business manager as George did, and I knew that he was going to cut the song because Emery Gordy produced it, and Emery called me and told me that George was going to cut Finally Friday. Of course, I was just going to have been more thrilled. But I had the same business manager, and I was in my office one morning, and I got a call from her, and she said, "Hold on, I got somebody who wants to speak to you." And George got on the phone, and he said, "Son, the next time you write something, try to put about half as many words as you did in that one. It took me 3 days to get that thing recorded." It's hilarious.
Man.
So,
well, speaking of that song that I was just listening to, Looking for a Thing Called Love, Would it be possible for you to describe the Dennis Robbins sound? How would you describe that?
Well, usually, I like to, I tried to incorporate a lot of my slide guitar in my writing and tried to have this to kind of have a different sound and a kind of a unique style. And, of course, looking for a thing called Love that doesn't have the slide in it, but it really didn't call for slide on that song. But I don't know. I guess it would be country rock, and even, well, the best way I can put it, somebody asked my brother, who was a drummer in my band, they asked him one time, they said, well, how would you describe his music? And he said, well, hell, it's rock and roll till he starts singing. So I guess I got a little twang, and but I like to rock. I like things that are real up, and I love to, I'm not one for really doing these songwriter nights. I'm not crazy about doing, up there with an acoustic guitar and singing, and I like being on the stage with a full band, and I feel a little bit more in my element when I've got a bunch of people to play with.
I have to say, Dennis, that is exactly how I would describe your sound, because I was thinking, with some of the stuff I was listening to, the music sounds like rock and roll, but his voice has the twang in it. And I do like your voice a lot. I like twang. I remember a friend of mine was saying he wanted me to play some music for him to turn him on to stuff. And I said, all right, well, we were going through some different genres. And then I said, all right, let's listen to some country music. And he said, don't play me any of that twang. And I thought, well, man, you don't like country music then. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, if he can't handle the twang, he ain't got no business listening to it, I guess.
Well, who are the vocalists who you would say have influenced you the most?
Well, of course, it would have to be Hank Williams Sr., George Jones, of course, the classic old time country guys, and but I have to say that my grandpa was I guess had the biggest influence. I'd have to say that I grew up, like I said, over there in the mountains of North Carolina, and he had a farm, and I would stay with him on the weekends up on the farm, and we would go blackberry picking. I'd just hang out with him, feeding the chickens, slopping the hogs, and walking up down the mountains and plowing the garden with a horse. And he would always be singing or humming an old melody that he would make up just out of his head. He would just sing these melodies that he would, and it had such a great impression it made on me. And when I got my first guitar, I was 12 years old, and that's how I started. And that was pretty much the inspiration behind me starting in music. It was pretty much an amazing thing to have. He played a little bit of guitar, but he wasn't he mostly would just walk around and singing and coming up with these melodies out of his head, and just had a real big influence. And of course, right about that time, I was introduced to all the real country and the early country stuff. Hank Sr., Merle Haggard, George Jones, all that early great country stuff, Willie, Waylon, and the great songwriters. And that's pretty much my biggest influences, I'd have to say.
This might be a tough question, but who do you think did the best job of interpreting a song that you wrote or co-wrote?
Well, I got to tell you, I did Two of a Kind, Working on a Full House on MCA. It charted. It got to around 62 on the chart, and it dropped off. And I got a call one night from this guy, and he said, "You don't know me, but my name's Garth Brooks, and I just got a record deal on Capitol Records, and I heard a song that's the best song I've heard since I've been in Nashville, called Two of a Kind, Working on a Full House. And I was wondering if you'd put it on hold for me. And I said, well, I tell you what, I gave that song to Shenandoah. They just had a number one. We had a number one hit with Church on the Cumberland Road, and they called me for some more songs. And that was one of the songs I gave Marty Raven with Shenandoah. And so I said, I tell you what, I said, they should have let me know something by now. And if you'll call me back tomorrow night about this time, I'll find out tomorrow, and I'll have an answer for you tomorrow night if they're going to use that song or not. And I called Marty the next day, and I asked him, hey, what's up with the song? I mean, are you guys thinking you're going to do it? And he said, well, Dennis, he said, our producer, and we made a deal and an agreement with him that we weren't going to, we would have to be, we would listen to him when it comes to picking the songs to record. And he told us when he heard that song, we're not doing any Hank Williams sounding songs. So I'm sorry, but we're going to have to pass on that. And I said, okay, man, well, that's fine. And of course, later on that night, I got a call back from Garth, and he said, he asked me if I found out anything about the song. I said, yeah, you got it, and I won't pitch it to anybody, and I hope you have better luck with it than I did. And he did that song pretty much. You can listen if you ever heard my version of it. He did it pretty much like the way I did it, so I was really impressed with I loved his version of it. It just was awesome.
And one of the co-writers on that song, Warren Haynes, for all the listeners out there, is this the same Warren Haynes of Allman Brothers Band and Government Mule fame?
Yeah, that's him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Warren and I moved to Nashville together back in '83. That's when we first, I was living in Asheville, and he's from Asheville. And I had just left the Rockets the year before that, and I went to Muscle Shoals and I wrote 3 songs, and I went down to Muscle Shoals and recorded with Johnny Sandlin producing. Johnny Sandlin he played in the original Dwayne and Greg Allman, the Allman Joys, and he produced Greg Allman. He produced the Laid Back album, Greg Allman, and just a bunch of the stuff that they were doing in the early days. And he had produced 2 of the Rockets albums. And so I went down to Muscle Shoals and cut those 3 songs before I moved to Nashville. And Warren was playing with David Allen Coe, and I ran into him. I was playing in a little band over there in Nashville on the weekends, and Warren happened to be in town, and we met up, and he said he was thinking about, I told him I was moving to Nashville, and he said, well, he was thinking about doing it too. So we came over here together and got a place. Yeah, that's the same one, same guy.
We're going to play the original version of Two of a Kind, Working on a Full House. It went on to become a hit for Garth Brooks, written by our special guest, Dennis Robbins, along with Bobby Boyd and Warren Haynes. This is the Dennis Robbins version of Two of a Kind, Working on a Full House.
She's my lady luck, I'm her wild card man. Together we're building up a real hot hand. We live out in the country, she's my little queen of the South. We're two of a kind, working on a full house. She wakes me in the morning with a smile and a kiss. Her strong country loving is hard to resist. She's an easy loving woman, I'm a hard working man, no doubt. We're two of a kind, working on a full house. Yeah, my old pickup truck is her limousine, and her favorite dress is faded blue jeans. She loves me tender when the We're two of a kind, working on a full house. Yeah, I finally found a winner. She's made up my mind. The perfect combination is her heart and mine. The sky's the limit, nothing's too steep. We're playing for fun, but we're playing for keeps. So draw the curtain, honey, turn the lamp down low. I'll find some country music on the radio. I'm yours and you're mine, and that's what it's all about. We're two of a kind, working on a full house. Hey, Lordy, Mama, we just two of a kind, working on a full house.
What did you think of Kenny Chesney's interpretation of Paris, Tennessee?
I thought it was real good. I thought he did a real good job. Of course, that was on one of his early first albums that he did. It was good. I thought he did a good job on it. Tracy Lawrence did that song too, and he did a good job on it. I like both of their versions of it.
I might not have a whole lot of money, but I got enough, girl, for you and me. I'm taking off, won't you come with me, honey? Gonna take you all the way to Paris, Tennessee. I want to show you the Riviera. It's got new tires and a good CB. Put on some lipstick and your mascara, 'cause we're going all the way to Paris, Tennessee. Baby, I adore you. Don't say I never got nothing for you. It just ain't true. Oh, baby, I adore you. Don't say I never got nothing for you. It just ain't true. We might not see no Eiffel Tower, but I got a cousin that I want you to meet, and he can pick the wildwood flower better than anybody down in Paris, Tennessee. We're going all the way to Paris, Tennessee. Ooh la la, baby, voulez-vous barbecue?
That was the original version of Paris, Tennessee, as recorded by our special guest, Dennis Robbins. Now back to the interview. With all the things that you have accomplished, from having some of the greatest singers of our time record your work, to making albums yourself, playing guitar, getting the respect of your peers, what would you say is the best thing about being Dennis Robbins?
The best thing I can tell you about being Dennis Robbins is I've got two boys, Corey and Trevor. And Trevor, I just got back from West Virginia. Trevor ended up being the Western champion golfer in California. And he won a tournament and then went to Scottsdale and played and won there. And then he went to the Greenbrier last week in West Virginia. And we went up to meet him and followed him around while he he played golf in that tournament. It's the VGA, Veterans Golf Association, and I could not tell. I mean, it was as big a thrill as anything that I'd ever accomplished myself personally. And Corey, my son Corey, is. We just finished recording. We did 4 tracks week before last. 2 songs that Corey wrote. He writes and he plays slide guitar a hell of a lot better than I do. And he just is an incredible writer. He's just coming into his own as far as being a writer. And he's got 2 songs that he wrote. One is called Dream Girl, that he wrote for his wife when they got married 2 years ago. And it was a surprise to everybody. Even he didn't even play it for me. I didn't know about the song, and he played it at the reception and had her come up and sit in front of him, and as he did that song, and the women just, nobody ever heard this song before. And when he was through with that song, it was just unbelievable, the response that he got. I mean, the people were crowding up around him. The girls were all crying. One of the girls said, "I hate my life." And so we cut that song. I told him we were looking for songs to do, and another song he wrote called "If You're Reading This." And it's about a soldier and getting ready for battle. He's on the side. He's in this valley up on this by this mountain, and it's a letter to his girlfriend. If you're reading this, it's just 2 songs that are just unbelievable to me. And so, having those 2 boys, and really a step even more than that is Corey has 2 little boys, and my 2 little grandsons, Finnegan and Wilder, ages 6 and 3, and that there just isn't anything any better than that to me in my life. I mean, there's just nothing I think. There's nothing any better than that, man. I can tell you right now.
I like that you did not hesitate at all.
I mean, it's an instant thing. I've got a pirate room. We turned one of our bedrooms into a pirate room in my house, and we've got about 6 ships, and we've got all these pirates, and we've got a bandit ship, and we've got Captain Hook, and they've named all the pirates. We've got Redbeard and Jim Bob and Dark Legs and Too Tall, and we've got all these pirates, and they have to, they've got the bandit ship that tries to find the king and get the king's treasure, and that's what my life has turned into, Paul. Playing pirates with a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old.
It sounds like fun. I always like to end the interview. I just give the guest the pulpit, and it's not limited to music. It could be about anything you want. What would you say to anyone who's tuned in?
What would I say to anybody who's tuned in? Well, I guess I could start by saying, if you've heard my music and you like it, thank you. I appreciate it. And there's more to come. I'm really excited about the other 2 songs that I did week before last are songs that I wrote with Troy Seals. One is called Pray for the Country, and the other one is one that I wrote with Travis Tritt and Troy Seals called Way Down in Georgia. And we're going to finish those songs up next week. And I'm looking for I'm talking to some people right now. I'm going to either put out an EP or I'll wait until I've got about 6 more things I've got to record after I finish these 4. And I'll have some new product out before too much longer. And I would hope that people would keep an eye out, and hopefully they're going to like it because there's more to come.
All right. Well, you are welcome back, Dennis, anytime. So when this becomes available and out there, you know who to call.
Well, I sure do appreciate it, Paul. I've enjoyed it, and when I do, I will call you, and maybe we can do another little interview, and I can tell you all about it, and let the people know when and where they can look for some new music.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, Dennis Robbins, thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Until next time. Thanks, as always, for listening to the Paul Leslie Hour. We have one more song before we go. We're going to play a song from the group Billy Hill. This was written by Bob DiPiero, John Scott Sherrill, and our special guest, Dennis Robbins. This is the song Nickel to My Name. And if you'd like to support the Paul Leslie Hour, you can do so by going to patreon.com/the Paul Leslie Hour. Until next time, folks.
Left me all alone. I looked up and my mind was gone. Where in the world did they all come from? Painted a crying shame. Pretty girls are a dime a dozen, and I only got a nickel to my name. Take a cake now, don't it cross the T. I just turned around and all I can see from in front of my eyes to the back of my mind. So many women, so little time. Where in the world they all come from? Painted a crying shame. Pretty girls are a dime a dozen, and I to my name. Yeah, I only got a nickel. I only got a nickel. I only got a nickel to my name.
Bop bop dealy bop bop doo bop zee bop a doodly not boxy chacha cook a baz and look a baz and neck a pork a get a go ram pop doodly zan but on with that a party yeah a zika baka book a gone doodle goodbye.